Hello.
Hi everyone, welcome to Created Female. We're so happy that you're here. Today we're going to be talking about men and respect.
So the last video, we talked about the crazy cycle and how when women feel unloved, they can act disrespectful. When men feel disrespected, they'll act unloved, and it gets you into chaos, and it just makes your marriage really unhappy.
Yeah, very difficult to work with. Before we start talking about respect, we wanted to talk about who we're talking to, why we're talking to you. We are women talking to women. We just wanted to give this disclaimer. We don't think that husbands shouldn't be putting an effort into marriages. We believe in that, but we can't control them. All we can control is how we act. So we just wanted to come from a place of, we're talking about respect because we're talking to women, as women, what we can do for our husbands.
Yes. So what does respect look like, Christina?
Respect looks like honor. It looks like trust, admiration, appreciation. Basically, when you think of somebody that you really respect in life, you will honor them. You will trust that their decision making is done well. You will appreciate them for their hard efforts, all of that good stuff.
I just thought of this. It's kind of like our relationship with God and how we are to have faith in Him. So respect in your husband is almost like trusting him and having faith that he's going to do what he should do and he will love you in return. So that's just one way to look at it. Again, our husbands are not gods. That's not what we're saying.
Yeah.
He's not our God, but how they have these masculine qualities and God has masculine qualities.
Yes.
And it's just like a way to kind of look at it that way.
Exxon, why does respect matter?
Well, men are hardwired and it's critical for them to have respect. There's a really great book called For Women Only, and it's by Shanti. I'm currently reading the audiobook, listening to the audiobook, and if you want to see that, it's in our book recommendations on our Instagram in our highlights. And Shanti is a Christian woman who has done all these surveys about men, and also there's one that's called For Men Only, and it's like half the amount. Then the women is like half. It's like 3 hours long versus 6 or whatever. But she did all these surveys and she asked men, if you were to choose one of these extremes, would you rather feel unloved or disrespected? And she said over 80% of the men said they would rather feel unloved than disrespected. And it kind of blew her mind because she also asked women this, and women chose, I would rather feel disrespected than unloved. And it just shows how critical, how important it is for men to feel respected. It's the same thing for them as for women to feel loved.
Yeah, in addition to feeling unloved, she also asked if you would rather feel lonely and unloved. And then in addition to feeling disrespected, it was added inadequate and disrespected. So there was like these 2 points as well.
Yeah, she has a lot of really great advice, and we definitely recommend her book.
For sure, yes.
If you want to learn more about how your husband thinks, how he sees himself, how he sees you and the world, it's phenomenal, and we 100% recommend it. Put it at the top of your list. And the cool thing is that there's also one for men. It's kind of fun.
We wanted to address that we as women don't try to be disrespectful. We're not trying to come into marriage and mess it up, make our husbands feel disrespected. We're doing our best to be good wives, but sometimes it comes off as disrespect and we don't know why. Today I wanted to share a story of how I used to act in disrespect with my husband, and that was when I would put him down publicly. So we would get into disagreements or whatnot, and because I wanted my husband to see my point of view, I would kind of get like a group of people to agree with me. You know, I'd be like, hey, listen, this is what he's doing. What do you guys think? Or kind of like publicly putting him down. And I never realized how horrible that was to my relationship with him, because if he did that to me, if he was putting me down publicly in front of our friends, I would just be so embarrassed and so hurt by that. And so once I realized how critical it was for me to respect my husband publicly, I repented of that and I asked for forgiveness, and I do my very best to make sure that I always respect my husband, especially when we're in public.
And Shanti talks about this actually, that men feel intense disrespect when they're put down in front of other men, especially because men think, well, dude, if your wife doesn't even respect you, why should I or anybody else? And so this is definitely important. I'd love to share a story from when I was disrespected. And again, these things were unknowingly done.
You're not trying to hurt your spouse or your boyfriend or fiance or husband. You are just coming from a place of hurt yourself, and you're trying to get your side of the story heard.
Right. And when we got married, I really had a tough time trusting my husband when it came to finances. And the way that I would try to deal with it is I would like micromanage spending, or always check our account, or ask about things and talk about budgeting and, hey, let's have financial goals. Like I try to have even like a good spin on it. And I came from a really, broken family where my father was not there to provide for us. So if I wanted anything, it was up to me to go get it. It's not like anyone would be like, yeah, don't worry, I'm gonna take care of that. So I had this like survival mentality, and the truth is God has such a better way, and he's taught me to really rely on him and my husband. And I had no idea that my husband felt so dishonored and feeling like he was inadequate to meet our needs. Again, we never even had times where we had like no food or shelter. I just had this broken mentality from the way I grew up, and this survival mentality that was really hurting my marriage in ways. So like I said, were these actions, I guess, not justifiable? Sure, they were justifiable, but was it the right solution? Absolutely not. This wasn't God's way. And it's really cool. When I started to realize these things, one of the first things I did was like, okay, I'm gonna allow you to just take care of the credit card. I'm not gonna think about what's on there. I mean, I was, again, like, I'm not like a crazy spender or what have you, but I wasn't like stressing about paying for things. And I just gave him control, and I just watched God like bless this area in our lives. And it was so cool because I was so peaceful. I had so like little stress. And that's the way God designed it to be. My husband was being respected. I felt secured and in love, and it was just so, so cool.
Yeah. And up next, we wanted to talk about how you can tell your husband is feeling disrespected. Like Oksana was saying, sometimes you don't even know that your husband is feeling disrespected. You're just shocked when you get more information on how your husband feels. Wow, I didn't know that this was happening. I didn't know that this is how this made him feel. And so some signs that you can look out for is distance, anger, frustration, passiveness, unlovingness, impatience. So if you are noticing a lot of these negative emotions coming from your husband, check out what's going on in your marriage. Maybe he's feeling disrespected. Maybe you've been acting in a disrespectful way and you didn't even know it by not trusting him, by not honoring him or appreciating him. Those are ways that you can disrespect your husband, and the ways that we have disrespected our husbands.
And in a conflict, 80% of men said, this is from Shanti's book again, that they felt disrespected. So think about a conflict. What do you normally feel? Like, to be honest, I feel very unloved.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm so dramatic. I'm like, oh, he doesn't love me. I'm not good enough. Or our marriage is awful.
Yeah.
He is feeling most likely disrespected.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a great way just to understand our husbands from a different perspective. And now we're going to talk about a call to action. Like, what can you do once you've realized, okay, I might have been disrespectful, and maybe that's why, we're having all these conflicts, or I might be feeling unloved, or, when we were first dating, everything was so amazing. He brought me flowers home and took me out on dates, and now we're married, and it seems like things have changed. Why? Are we having trust issues? Are we
having high expectations?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of bickering. just try to notice these things, patterns in your marriage. And we do want to encourage you to look at our list that's on our Instagram page. It's 99 ways to show your husband respect. It's just a practical approach on how you can be intentional on respecting your husband. Imagine if your husband was looking at a list, how can I love my wife more? We would be so grateful for that. So just imagine that being in reverse, how grateful our husbands will be when we come into our marriage wanting to respect them more. And Oksana wanted to also add a little testimony that we had from a friend.
Yes, so we've been having this list go on our Instagram, and one of our friends told me that what she did is she took that list and read it to her husband and just asked him like what he thought about these ideas. And some of them he was like, oh yeah, this would make me feel so honored, so respected, like a king. And other things he was like, nah, that doesn't really matter that much to me. This means that, number one, we're going to give you advice, but it's still a relationship between the two of you. You're both unique individuals created in the image of God. Yes, you have your needs, but the approach and the different ways you like to have your needs met are going to be unique and special. And what's cool is that we encourage you, study your husband. Like, I started doing that. I was like, okay, like, what is he like? What things does he not like? Those little special things that he likes when he notices about you will also be so special to him when you start to notice, wow, he really liked how I totally told like a cool story about how he fixed something in our house in front of all of our friends. Like, brag on him, so girl. Cute. Like, he's gonna love that. He'll love to be exalted in front of all his friends or even his family. Appreciated, yeah. And it's not in vain or prideful. It's just encouragement, and it's respect and what they're looking for.
So there is no formula for your marriage. Just take in as much as you can. Ask your husband. He's the only one who can tell you what he needs, the kind of respect that he wants from you. And we just encourage you to respect your husbands. We love you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, enjoy the journey of marriage and your relationship. We'll see you next time.